Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new malicious compliance content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, Selfish Spouse Got Hit by Karma. When I was 18, young and stupid, I met a guy that I married after only 3 months of going out. Let's call him Fred. Fred turned out to be one of the most violent people I had ever met, and I escaped the marriage with the clothes on my back and the air in my lungs. I won't bother you with the details because they don't apply much to this story. Before things fell apart, Fred decided we needed a new car. It was registered in his name, insured in his name, and the loan was in his name. My name did not appear on anything associated with the car's purchase. He handed me the payment book for this car, and I was dumb enough to keep up the payments for a car I had no legal right to. We were in the army at the time. After several months he had to go to a different station, but there were several months on my assignment until we could be together again. He took the car. I kept up with the payments. When the time for me to change stations arrived, we planned to spend the weekend in a hotel room together. It went badly. I managed to persuade him to bring me back to the barracks, where I told my roommate what was happening. I gave her his picture and asked her to give it to the guys on guard duty and tell them what happened because he had a weapon. Sure enough, he entered the barracks looking for me. The guys on guard duty called the MPs when he made a gesture that exposed the weapon. He was led off in handcuffs. On my way home for leave, I stopped by his parents' house to return all of the household goods that were his. This included the payment book for the car. Several days later I received the payment book in the mail, with a note that I should continue payments. I sent it to him with a note to pay it himself. A few days later I got the payment book with a more strongly worded note to continue payments. I returned it with a note that I would not pay, and if he sent it back to me again I would burn it. The fire was lovely. About 2 days after the ashes cooled I got a call from the bank, asking when they would get the next payment. I reminded them that everything about the car was in Fred's name. I planned to divorce him so I would no longer pay for the loan. I told them, oh, by the way, he plans to ship this car to his next station. Would you like his current address? The Grinch would have been proud of my evil grin. The next day a Repo'd truck rolled up his driveway and towed the car. The story I got is that he ran after it, waiving 3 months of payment in cash. The repo guys kept it moving. Along with losing the car, he also lost a new set of radial tires, a CB setup, and some luggage that was still in the trunk. Next one is entitled Aunt Sold My Grandma's House and It Was a Mistake. Everything started several years ago, around 2013 to 2014 in Mexico. My entitled aunt has a history of harassing my grandma, her mom, with money loans, stealing her food, and even making grandma pay for Karen's utility bill. My aunt harassed grandma saying it was her responsibility to make her daughter happy, or that she was in a need, wouldn't her mother help her? To the point of pressuring my grandma into asking the bank for a loan. No one knew anything. My 65-year-old grandma had to start to work selling anything she could to pay the loan. In Mexico there are some products by catalog called Avon, Stan Home, Andrea shoes that you can offer and sell. Grandma starts selling them. I mentioned this for you to understand what she starts selling, to the point that she got sick due to stress. Her excuse to my mom is that she did it to make her feel young. Grandma being a farmer all her life, we could understand she could not be sitting all day doing anything, since mom pays for her rent, food, and utility bill. My mom let her be but always warned her to do not overpressure herself. The time passed, it was now 2016, and she started accumulating late fees for not paying the loan on time. One day my mom receives a call from my grandma's neighbor because grandma passed out due to stress. She rushes to her house to find her house empty. We thought that someone had stolen everything, but no. The loan fees were too high and the payment was overdue for over 1 year, and the bank had taken everything from her house to pay the loan. Here is when we knew that entitled aunt harassed grandma into the loan. My mom was furious. She and my stepdad paid the loan and recovered grandma's stuff. It was around $7,000 in debt with the bank that my mom and stepdad ended up paying for grandma. From there on, my mom hired a nurse and had my 2 younger sisters go with grandma after school every day to take care of her. Mom worked in a different state. She only came on the weekends. This is why she asked my 2 sisters to take care of grandma. Also, they did not move due to stepdad's job and grandma. Both were in high school at the time and always had someone at home to avoid Karen coming to her house to steal goods or to harass grandma. 2016 passed. I finished university in 2015 and started working. I was able to get hired by a USA company and started working to save some money. In 2018 Mom and I decided to purchase a house for grandma. We did all the paperwork and purchased a house for her. By the way, if you wonder why grandma was paying rent and had no house, it was because grandpa lost their farm gambling. We knew that entitled aunt would try to trick grandma into giving it to Karen. This is why the house was at my name. Everything was great for the next years. Then 2020 came, the worst year overall, and we feared the worst, you know, the health dilemma, and the inevitable happened. Grandma passed away. We are glad to say she had a peaceful death. She passed away in her sleep, happy and well taken care of by my mom, sisters and her nurse. We knew that Karen would try to make her moves. I asked my sisters to take her personal belongings from the house. This is to trick my entitled aunt. They agreed and took all of the furniture out, clothes, anything from the house. Even a small nail on the door to hang some plants. They left the house empty. 3 to 4 weeks after this, my sister saw a big sign that says, "For sale," with Karen's phone number on it. I knew the time to start the revenge was close, so I asked my family to let her be, that I had something in mind. 2 months after the sign, the house was sold, and my sis saw people moving in. I felt bad for these people, but I had something on my mind for them as well. 6 months passed after the new people moved into the house, and then it was time to act. You may wonder why I took 6 months to act. Well, my entitled aunt has a history of wasting money. I waited for her to waste most of the money from the house that she illegally sold. Revenge time. This is for you, Grandma. Event 1. Before 2020, my wife and I had planned to go visit my mom for her to meet her granddaughter, so we continued with the plan. We took our precautions traveling. We went to Mexico to visit my mom. Event 2. My stepdad was into politics his whole life. I asked him as a favor to search for the most epic lawyer he knew for this, and we got the best. I presented my case to him and gave him the original house scriptures. He said it was going to be an easy win. Event 3. Like I did not know anything, I went to Grandma's house with my key copies and opened the house. This was part of the plan. Even when there were already people living there, I acted surprised when I saw people inside the house and asked, why are they in my house? The gentleman in the house stated he had purchased the house. I showed the house scriptures and he was shocked. He then mentioned that the paperwork was being completed and gave the phone number of the agent. I apologized for coming in the house and went to the real estate office. Event 4. Arriving at the real estate office, I asked for the agent in charge of Grandma's house being sold. When he looked at me, it was like he saw his last hope, that he thought I was going to agree to the house being sold. Our conversation was something like this. Me. Hi. Are you Mr. Agent selling the house in such and such address? Agent. Yes, nice to meet you, we were trying to get a hold of you. Me. What for? Agent. We had a small issue with the paperwork. We only need your signature and the house will be sold. Me. This might be a mistake. I'm here to talk about the house being sold, because I did not agree to sell anything. Saying this, it was like a cool bucket of water was poured in him. The glow on his eyes was gone. He knew he messed up bad, really bad. Agent. Why the change of mind? We've been talking via phone and you agreed to everything. You even mentioned to come soon as you arrive in town. Me. You have been scammed. I have never talked to you before. Then I suggested calling me from the phone number we have been talking to. He did, and someone answered, and surprise surprise, it was not me. Then I just mentioned that I wanted my house back since I have never agreed to anything or I will legally proceed to sue them, and walked away. From this point I knew everything was going to go down for Karen. 3 days passed and I encountered Karen at the Walmart parking lot. I politely approached her to say hi, like I did not know anything, but when saying goodbye. I then asked why she sold my house. She started to get nervous and negated everything until I mentioned that Mr. Lawyer is suing her, a way to say we have an epic lawyer on our side. She then tried to defend herself by saying that Grandma gave her the house and she had a paper with Grandma's signature. I just smiled and mentioned that Grandma did not have the power of doing that, since the house was at my name and she better get herself together because a storm was her way. 1 week passed, and we did not hear anything from the agent. I visited him again. It was hard to track him down. I tried 2 weeks to contact him with no luck, so we proceeded to sue them. As soon as the sue was placed, I received a call from the agent to meet him. I refused and hung up. I did this to make everything harder on him for avoiding me for 2 weeks. He then found out who my stepdad was and found my stepdad's office address. He had the audacity to visit my stepdad. My stepdad, being a busy man, ignored him and said to contact me and that he should have listened the first time. After 3 days of the constant call, my wife, being sick of the calls, made me answer, and I agreed to meet. In the meeting he gave me his version of the story and why the house was sold. He mentioned that Karen contacted them for a house to be sold. Karen stated it was her mom's, grandma's, house and she inherited it. She then presents a paper with my grandma's signature with a fake last will stating the house belongs to my grandma and Karen was the new owner after grandma passed away. This was a lie, of course. Then when the agent started the paperwork, he found out the house was at my name. He contacted Karen and she assured I agreed and gave him a fake phone number. This could be Karen's significant other or someone on her side, not sure as of today who it was. The agent was in contact with this fake me for a long time waiting for the paperwork, and that he mentioned that I was going to visit him to sign the paperwork. This is why he was so happy when I arrived the first time. The agent begged to stop any legal action, since he could go to jail. I agreed if he agreed to the following terms. A. Recover my house and make the people inside my house move out. B. Get a new house for the people currently on my house with the money they have already spent. He agreed to term A, but for term B, he was not sure. I then stated that it was his fault for approving the paperwork without my signature and that he will need to recover the money from the agent to pay for the new home for the people currently on my house. They will need to solve this. I gave him 2 weeks to solve this, or else I would sue them all. Event 5. Notified Karen about the fraud she had committed and she better had the money to return it. She did not take it very well, as always. She acted like she was on the right, saying, "Grandma gave me this, and no one can take it from me. We'll see, Karen, we'll see." Event 6. Wait. I went to talk to the people at my house to give them a heads up of the issue and apologized for the misunderstanding since it was never their fault. I explained that they will be moved soon to a new house and not to worry because the Ray will take care of everything. Event 7. We got a call from the agent at the end of week 2, after we talked. He mentioned that my house was empty and that the people in there was in a new home as well. I called the gentleman that was on my house and he confirmed that they were in a new house and everything was good with the Ray, also my house was empty. Event 8. Karen, time to pay woman. Since the agent and I were on good terms, we started working together to sue Karen for fraud and identity theft. We went hard on her. We sent a letter for a court notice and the time. She did not arrive. We sent a second letter, and this time she did arrive. While in court, she never talked, at least, not as an adult would. She was all the time crying and sobbing that we tricked her, that the house was hers, but all this was hard to understand with her desperate crying. We presented our evidence. We even brought the bank records when she harassed grandma into getting a bank loan. We brought witnesses. We had the whole circus set and ready for a big show. Epic Lawyer was smooth talking and presenting everything, stating the house was at my name, and that Karen has a history of tricking grandma. At the end we won the case. Karen had no evidence other than the fake last will from grandma, which was written by Karen and only had grandma's signature. Not only that, no lawyer was informed of this to back her up. The sentence. Karen was to give back all the money she got from the house, around $20,000 United States dollars. It was half of the house price since the paperwork was not completed, and she had 2 weeks for this than 9 years in prison for fraud and identity theft. I was so happy about this. When the judge gave the sentences, Karen was speechless. She couldn't even say a word. She even stopped crying. Her world and life had just collapsed in front of her eyes. From that time and on, I have not spoken with Karen or anyone about this besides my mom, sisters and stepdad. This was in November of last year, 2020. Did not know if Karen was able to pay everything back, but did know that when the cops went to her house to arrest her, she tried to escape and was on the run for 2 days until she was caught riding a bus to Veracruz scrapping, at least, attempting to escape. Thanks for listening.